Coming up, I'll teach you how to become a top 1% employee. It's a lot easier than you think. And then Gen Z, they're sounding off on what they think about going to college. We'll break it down and we'll coach you up. Let's go. This is the Ken Coleman Show, where we help you win in your work life so that you're winning in other areas of your life. Let's get to it. How many of you want to climb the ladder? You want to get promoted? Now, some of you heard climb the ladder and you think, I don't want to be in the C-suite. I don't mean it that way. I just mean you want to move up financially because you've moved up professionally. You want to grow your income. You want to grow your influence. Well, this teaching is for you. So we hear about the one percenters politically a lot when we talk about income, but let's talk about one percenters as it relates to performance, okay? Only 1% of people ever become the superstars in the workplace. Only 1% of people ever reach the top of anything. It's really true. So why? Why so few? This vast population, this vast world, and only a few really max out. And I'm going to give you a very simple reason. Most people are not willing to do what it takes to be great. Now, let's pause for a second and talk about what I mean by great. Great means the absolute best version of you. Great is not a comparison. I don't care what anybody tells you. Well, this guy is a great man and this woman is a great woman. Maybe, but they're not greater than you because they're not you. Greatness is not defined by power, prosperity, notability. It's just not. Now, I understand that's what culture tends to do, but at the end of the day, greatness is about uniqueness and you being the best version of you. And the bar is so low right now, thanks to quiet quitting and the anti-work movement. And then just some people saying, I'm out, I'm not working, like the 7 million pathetic men in this world who, and in this country, who aren't working. They can work. They've chosen to just take their ball and go home. So it's never been easier to catapult yourself into the top 1% of employees. So let's break it down. How do we do that? We need to understand what a 1%er is. In other words, an A player. And A players get A results and they live a great life because of it. In other words, they're willing to do what they have to do so they can do what they want to do. So here's what you can do to take advantage of this very low bar in this work climate and become an A player, a top 1%er. Here's what you can do. First, you need to be aware of two factors, two elements of you. First, you need to be aware of hunger. You need to be aware of talent. So my definition of a 1%er is somebody who's very talented and very hungry. That's it. That's all I need to see. Ken, is that person a 1%er? Are they an A player? Tell me, are they talented? Tell me, are they hungry? And if the answer is yes and yes, now we've got a 1%er. Notice I didn't say, are they talented? And then move on. Talent is not enough. Talent is not enough to be great, and talent is not enough to be a 1%er. It just isn't. I've seen many talented people sitting on the sidelines of life for a variety of reasons. But they didn't have the hunger. They had the talent, but they didn't hunger. They didn't hunger for very specific things. We'll break that down. Let's first talk about talent. You need to be aware of your talent. You need to be crazy self-aware. I know what I'm talented at doing, and as a result, I know what I'm not talented at doing. And so I've structured my professional life and my personal life to reflect that. Listen, I can carry a note. I've got a small amount of talent musically. I played the trumpet for 6 years. I can read music. I can hold a note. But I have a small amount of talent. Okay? If we're looking at the bucket of talent there, we're looking at, I'm like a 3 or a 4. which means a lot of effort makes me average. Nobody pays for average. Where are you very talented? This is what you've got to be focused on. You've got to be so aware of, I am really gifted in these areas. And I've got validation of it. It's not my opinion. I've got validation. And again, validation isn't from mama. Validation is from people who've pushed you in those areas of talent, who've coached you in those areas of talent, who've paid you in those areas of talent. That's where the validation comes from, not from Uncle Larry and your mom, because they won't tell you the truth. Secondly, you got to believe in the talent. It's not enough to be aware of it. You got to believe in it. And there's a difference between aware and belief. I'll give you an example. I'm sitting in a chair right now. It's a pretty decent chair. I mean, as studio chairs go, I think it's a pretty decent chair. When I walk in the studio the very first time and I saw this chair several years ago, I was aware that the chair was here and that the chair was constructed, engineered, built for me to sit in it and hold my weight. I was aware of it because I looked at it and said, that's a chair. But I did not believe that the chair was able to do what I thought it was able to do until I sat in it. You see what's going on here? It's the act that makes it belief. I can be aware of it. I can see it. I can think it. But to act on it is belief. You got to act on your talent. Now let's move to hunger. Hunger. What do I mean by this? Hunger is a deep desire to make a contribution to this world. A specific contribution, not just any contribution, a specific contribution. You hunger for it. In other words, you have an appetite. You long for it. You crave a specific contribution. You cannot teach hunger. You can make people aware of it, but you can't teach it. You can't will it on somebody, and you can't will it. You have to experience it, see it, taste it, smell it, and go, I want more of that. I want to do that. Hunger. Hungry to make a contribution, and then hungry to grow. Again, just as I said, it's not enough to be aware of your talent. You have to believe in the talent. The same is true for hunger. It's not enough to crave a contribution. You have to then be willing to grow in order to do it. So let me give an example. If a kid wants to play high school football, okay? We're not even talking about the next level, just high school football. Oh, I really want to play. I really want to play. Great. Are you willing to practice? Are you willing to hit the weight room? Are you willing to get out and condition yourself? Are you willing to do what it takes to do the thing that you desire to do? It's not enough to crave it and hunger for it. You got to move towards it, right? You got to go shoot it, skin it, bring it home, and cook it. You got to do those things. So understand that if you want to be a 1%er, you have to be aware of your talent and believe in your talent. You have to be hungry for a contribution and be willing to grow so that you can get more of that contribution. You do that, you set yourself apart. Why does that matter? Because greatness is not an accident. Greatness always happens on purpose.
Do you know what you were born to do? In order to get hired at a job you love, you need to get clear on your talent, passion, and mission. That's why our team created the Career Clarity Guide. In just a few minutes, this free tool will walk you through a process to discover what you do best, that's your talent, the work you love to do, that's your passion, and the results that matter to you, your mission. Then you'll feel more confident throughout the job search process. To get started, go to kencoleman.com/clarity.
October is almost here, and some of you are thinking, oh, I got to get my kids a Halloween costume. But I want you to be thinking about the fact that you and many others are going to have to start paying their student loans back. $40 million, by the way. And our team wants to help. Ramsey Solutions is positioned strategically. We are positioned with a lot of experience in helping people get out of debt, including student loan debt. And that's why we're hosting a free live stream on Tuesday, September 12th at 7 p.m. Central, so 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Dave Ramsey, Rachel Cruz, Jade Warshaw are going to walk you through how we got in this mess and how we can get out of this mess together, because we are here to help and we can help. The free live stream is available to you at RamseySolutions.com/student loans. RamseySolutions.com/student loans. I wouldn't miss it. I would not miss it if I've got student loans or if I've got kids that are getting ready to take them. I would not miss this. This is appointment watching, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, RamseySolutions.com/student loans, Tuesday, September 12th. All right. More updates on the continuing devaluation of a college degree. I've been saying this. I said this 5 years ago. I'm going to say it 5 days from now. You know, Nathan, it just occurs to me, you were shaking your head because you and I have known each other a long time. It's very rare that I can even say something like this, and I don't want to miss this. I'm never right. Number one, I'm a husband of 25 years, and I'm not griping, but every man in a successful marriage knows you pretty much have to give up your opinion and being right if you want to be happily married. Let's just be honest. All right? Secondly, I have 3 teenagers, Nathan, which means they never think I'm right about anything. And so it's rare. It's rare that I get out in front of something and say, I'm telling you, this next generation is going to begin to devalue and question the ROI, return on investment, for college. And here we go. Are you ready for this? I'm never right, except for this. Here we go. 4 million fewer teenagers enrolled at college in 2022 than in 2012. So 10 years difference. In a 10-year span, college enrollment has dropped by 4 million students. Folks, that's not a blip. That is a trend that is going to start to look like a freight train. These numbers are going to continue to snowball. Why? The price tag. The price tag. It's too much. I can't justify it. You can't justify it. More on that in a minute. From 2010 to 2022, college tuition rose an average of 12% a year, while inflation only increased an average of 2.6% each year. And folks, I point this out because this message still makes a lot of you uncomfortable because you have been brainwashed that college is absolutely the best alternative for a kid leaving high school. You've been brainwashed. And it's so counterintuitive for you to go, huh? That doesn't seem to make sense. Inflation's in your face right now. Does that bother you? That college tuition over a 12-year period rose at 12% a year? Inflation rose at 2.6% a year? That's whacked out. If that doesn't make you upset, hold on. Hold my beer. It's not a Bud Light. Today, college costs at least $104,000 on average to attend a public university. 4 years, public university, average cost $104,000. And $223,000 for a private university. See, that's where they really get you. You get all excited when you send your kid to a private university because, I mean, they're special. They got in the country club. They get to wear the sweater vest and the tie and the penny loafers. You see where I'm going here? It's a trap. It's a status trap. And it's trapping young people. It's trapping parents who are co-signing on loans. It's a trap. It's a mirage. Here are the data to prove me right. The salaries that students can expect to earn after graduation haven't kept up with the cost of college. A Pew Research Center report found that earnings for young college-educated workers had remained mostly flat over the past 50 years. 4 years after graduating, according to recent data from the Higher Education Authority, a third of students earn less than $40,000, lower than the average salary of $44,000 that workers with only high school diplomas earn. Factor in the average student debt of $33,500 that college graduates owe after they leave school, and many graduates will spend years catching up with their degree-less counterparts. So these kids are waking up to this. The student debt-driven financial hole is leaving more and more younger people with a lower net worth than previous generations. The Morning Consult found that 41% of Gen Zers said they tend to trust U.S. colleges and universities. This is the lowest percentage of trust of any previous generation. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That is good news to me because it tells me these Gen Zers are going, this value proposition doesn't add up to me. Sure, I can go and party for 4 to 5 years and sow my wild oats, but then I've got to pay when I get out. And when I look at what I got to pay when I get out versus what I'm making when I get out, I'm not so sure that that's a fair trade. Now, I want you just for a second to think of a product or a service that you recently paid for that after you got into it, you went, well, that was an absolute trap. I didn't get what I paid for. That's what Gen Z is saying. They're going, why would I want to do this? They don't want to do it. And the numbers are bearing themselves out. College enrollment is dropping. Community college enrollment dropping. That's one storm. These kids are just, they're waking up. They're going, I don't know. That's one storm. The other storm is the student loan debt we've got. It's about to hit the shoreline in October. There's going to be a lot of pain. And I think this pain is going to be so vocal that I hope it wakes America up finally to say, it's time to turn the eye at the people that are in charge of the education matrix. Those would be your leadership at higher institutions. Everybody at the top, college president, the board, regents, everybody, you're all on the hook. Because you all are driving this. 12% tuition increase per year? Are you kidding me? Oh, by the way, these are the same educated folks who charged you the same amount of money but sent your kid home and told him to learn online. So that's the second storm, is our student loan crisis. By the way, it's back to being a full-blown crisis because the Supreme Court told Uncle Joe that there's this thing called the Constitution and we have to abide by it. So they smacked down his political ploy, and now a lot of people who for 3 years had hope, real hope, that they would have their student loans forgiven are now dealing with the harsh reality that they got to pay it. The third storm. Corporate America is saying, we're hiring these kids out of college, and they're not trained to do what we need them to do. So we've come up with our own training programs. So we'll just hire you right out of high school, or we'll hire if you don't have a degree. Third storm, all coming together for a superstorm that is going to make college and universities as we know irrelevant. I told you so, and I'm telling you so.
Are you wondering if you should leave your current job or stay put? You're not alone. That's why we created the Should I Quit My Job quiz. In just 5 minutes or less, this quiz will help you determine if you're at the right company and if you're in the right role. If you need to make a move, you'll even get practical next steps to keep you moving forward. Listen, stuck is a choice, and life is too short not to do what you were created to do. To take the quiz, go to kencoleman.com/quiz.
Welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show, where we help you win at life so that win at work so that you can win in the rest of your life. I got distracted. Nathan, during the commercial break, was asking me a very personal question. He was like, do I know you well enough? And he was asking me, what kind of adult beverages I enjoyed. And so, full disclosure, I have ADHD. I thought I'd tell the audience. I'm not going to tell you all, but I was really thinking that through, Nathan. It was very, very good.
I was right on the first half.
You were. It was very impressive. Well, we've known each other a long time. Having directed me many, many years when I was host of the Dave Ramsey YouTube channel, Nathan would be in my ear. And I mean, some of you think you hear voices in your head. Sometimes I actually know what it's like to hear someone else's voice in your head. And it's these little things in my ear here. And he would tell me what to do.
Yeah, I still haunt you every now and then.
He does. All right. Hey, if you are enjoying the program on YouTube, would you help us grow? You can do that by liking the video that you're watching, subscribing to the channel, and sharing with a friend. And on podcasts, follow us, give us a 5-star review, and share as well. So I would be grateful for that. All right. Let's get to the phones where Elliot joins us in Syracuse, New York. Elliot, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you well, sir.
Thank you, sir, for having me on the show today. I really respect the work that you do.
Thank you, sir.
So I'll give you a little bit of a background, and we'll lead into it. Sound good?
Sure.
Alrighty. So I'm walking around lately with the suspicion that I might be too successful for my own good, and I'll emphasize for my own good. I'm 25 years old, and by many standards, I would say that I'm successful. I make just shy of $100,000 a year. I got 2 degrees, so definitely resonating with the show today. And I'm the first in my family to reach this level of success, along with my girlfriend. She's finishing up her 2nd degree as well. But despite all the success, I'm coming in and out of work every day, just downright miserable. So I'm really trying to work.
What's making you miserable?
There's a host of things there. But,
I know, but I want you to give me the top 2 or 3, because I'll bet you they're all bucketed. What are the top 2 or 3 reasons why you come home miserable every day?
I know that I'm an utterly driven person, but due to how irrelevant I perceive the work to be,
I feel.
Yeah. So, and then when I hit a roadblock, I see a dissonance between the person I know I am and the person I'm showing up as at work. And so because of that irrelevance and the degrees of separation from what I think is impactful,
your work doesn't matter to you. And so you're starting to go, well, I matter more than this. And so the question becomes, is this a dead end? Or is this you just experiencing frustration on the ladder, climbing? Let me explain further so that you can answer this. I want you to be really honest.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just part of you having to pay your dues? Or is this just an absolute, I got in the wrong seat one way or the other? And I just know there's not climb. There's no climb here. This isn't me having to be patient. This is an absolute dead end. What is it?
I'm thinking it's more of a dead end, only because I've made it through my 1-year mark with the company I'm at, and I stuck it out because I thought that was the right thing to do. I still think it was the right thing to do.
Well, all right, so pause. So when you joined the company a year ago, was it in this position?
Correct, yes.
So did you misread this?
No, I did not misread this.
So why is it so when you joined, you were jacked up about it?
Yes.
Why?
Because the opportunity itself seemed unrealistic to, it surpassed any potential opportunity that I thought was available to me at the time.
So it looked like a very attractive ladder that you could get on and use that ladder to climb.
Correct.
But now, and maybe much sooner than now, you realized there is no next rung here. I'm stuck.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You understand why I'm digging into all this? Because we've got to figure out what's true, and then we need to figure out what's our next move based on what's true. And if this were a situation where you are being impatient, I'd say, relax, young grasshopper. I get it. But you do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. This does not seem like that. This seems like either you misread the situation, or they've changed the game on you, or they sold you some oceanfront property in Arizona. Which one is it?
Yeah, so my inside joke is that, the last bullet on the posting where it says, and take care of other manager requests, that seems to be the yeah.
Okay, so the job description, as you read and interviewed for, is a whole lot less of the rest of the stuff, and it's a whole more of, I'm just an errand boy for the boss.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Now I know what's going on. You feel, number one, lied to, or certainly misled, and you certainly feel devalued because you go, anybody can do this, and I'm not being pushed. I'm not being challenged by this role. Is that what's going on?
That's fair, yep.
Okay, good. So what's your question? Now that I know what's going on, what's your question?
Well, the question was, and now I'm starting to shift a little bit.
Good.
Originally, the question was, how do I maintain? So I have faith that I'm going to end up in a good place and have a lot of these issues resolved, but I'm starting to lose. I feel like I lose the ability to maintain perspective while going through that process.
Yeah, 100%. Great question. Is that the question?
So I'm wondering how to maintain that perspective as I'm going through it.
Okay, great. So perspective is all about point of view. So how do you maintain perspective when you're in a job that you're not going to stay in much longer and it is a dead end? Here's what you do. You focus on what that job allows you right now. Mm-hmm. As miserable as it makes you, it allows you stability in the now and stability to move to the next. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So I know I don't want to be here. I know my time is close to done. But there's no reason to jump off of a bridge when you can walk across a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go, okay, the bridge is me staying in this role until I find something else. And then when I find something else, I'm out. So your perspective is, okay, yes, you're miserable, but you need to be grateful for what it is, the good that it is. And the good that it is it's a job that you can do with your brain shut completely off, and it's taking care of your bills, and it's setting you up for the future. And then that ought to push you to go, I got to get out of here. So it's... Do
you mind if I add one point there?
Yeah, real quick, because I got about a minute and a half. What do you got?
Yes, sir. With the mind shutting off part, I agree and slightly disagree, only because I believe I'm being taxed slightly with disproportionate responsibility sometimes. So yes, I'm being pushed, but I'm not being pushed in the appropriate
No,
or
I
right
get what
way.
you're saying. My point is, that was just me making a little side point. It doesn't matter. The point is that you need to be great. You said, how do I keep a good perspective? So you're grateful for what it does for you. And if you just walk today, how much stress would that put on you?
Quite a bit.
Right. So your perspective is, I'm not going to do anything stupid. So I need to show up, and I need to keep shoveling the you-know-what until I find something else. So my perspective is, I need the stability, and because I need the stability, I need to be grateful for the stability. So perspective is, don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Thank you, sir.
You know what I mean? Now,
yep.
What this does is, I'm grateful, but I'm urgent. So that's the last piece. Your posture emotionally every day is, I'm grateful, I'm faithful, and I'm urgent. I'm grateful for the gig. I'm going to be faithful to do the best job I can do while I'm here. But I am urgently looking. I am urgently planning so that I get myself in a much better situation. That's the mindset. And that'll get you through, my friend. And you're a sharp young man. I love the call. I think it's very mature of you to be asking these questions. And I think your next opportunity is closer than you realize. But be urgent while being grateful and faithful. This is the Ken Coleman Show.
Did you know that recruiters take an average of 6 seconds to scan a resume? And that's if they ever see it in the first place. In fact, 75% of resumes are rejected before reaching a hiring manager. Listen, folks, if you want to get hired, you've got to make your resume worth noticing. That's why we created How to Write the Perfect Resume. This free guide will walk you through the 5 steps to stand out in the hiring process to get you your dream job. If you want to get started, go to kencoleman.com/resume.
All right, welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show. Okay, this is a very interesting exercise to go through and some fun commentary on this. This is from CNBC.com, and they've published a study done by Go Banking Rates on cost of living. Now, buckle your seatbelt, folks. This is not going to be your garden variety segment on what the cost of living is in each state, what are the 5 top highest. I'm going to actually tell you what, and I'm going to tell you why, and then we're going to point a finger at the who. Uh-oh. How do you like that for a setup? All right. This is from Go Banking Rates, and what they did to determine the living wage in each state was to calculate the minimum amount a single person would need to follow the 50-30-20 budget using data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, I'm not endorsing the 50-30-20. I'm just telling you this is the formula that Go Banking Rates used, and here's what that means. 50% of your income to cover necessities such as housing and utility, and what they don't include on this list, but that would also include food, gas, things like that. 30% towards discretionary spending. So again, that's not food and gas and clothing. It's a discretionary spending. And then 20% left for savings and investment. So 50% towards necessities, right? At Ramsey Solutions, we would call that your 4 walls, your housing, your utilities, your food, and transportation, okay? And then the next 30 through this rate is towards discretionary spending and 20% for saving investment. So that's how they came up with this. The median income for single full-time workers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is $57,200 in the United States, okay? So let's look at the top 5 states as it relates to cost of living based on this. Now, this is, again, I gave you the formula, and so this is based on what someone needs to get by, all right? Hawaii tops the list. No surprise there. $112,411. Massachusetts follows at $87,909. California at $80,013. New York at $73,226. And Alaska, $71,570. In the booth, can you guys, I'll call on it when I need it. I meant to look this up. Well, I'm going to give it away. I just want to know, is the governor of Alaska a Republican or a Democrat? I think it's the outlier. I think it's a Republican. Somebody look that up for me and tell me in my ear, please. All right. So it is a Republican. Okay. And so this is the, we're going to get to that and why I asked that question. You know where I'm going with this. I gave it away. All right. The 5 most costly states, 4 out of the 5 have Democrat governors. And just do the math. Okay. I'm going to let you do your own research, but you look at the tax situation in those top 4 states, Hawaii, Massachusetts, California, taxes really, really high. Really high. So again, we've got a pattern going on here, okay? An absolute pattern. Why? They believe in taxing people. They believe in more government in your life, and that government costs money, okay? Now, again, Hawaii and Massachusetts, California, New York, you've also got high demand for real estate in those areas, and that drives those numbers up. So demand drives pricing. But this is fascinating when you look at these numbers. So why do I tell you this? If you don't want to leave Hawaii, Massachusetts, California, New York, or Alaska, you don't want to leave. But it's too expensive. Guess what you got to do different? Well, there's two things. Number one, you need to get control of your own expenses and make sure that you've got a proper budget and you're living below your means. That's the first thing. The second thing you need to do is vote differently. You do realize you have power, and it's either side of the aisle. But you got to take control. It's we the people, not we the governed.
According to Glassdoor, the average job offer attracts over 250 applicants. If you've made it to the interview, you've already made a great impression. So now is the time to showcase how you are the best choice for the role. That's why we created How to Win the Interview. This free guide will walk you through the 5 strategies to help you stand out amongst the competition. With just some intentionality, you can prepare yourself to win the interview. Go to kencoleman.com/interview.
All right, every once in a while, I love to share stories that are not always conclusive, but the story itself is interesting. And this is a story about bad bossery, horrible company cultures, because I think it's important to shine a light on this stuff. This is a headline, which incidentally, when the team pulls, I mean, we got a great team, and they pull articles for me all the time to consider. I must tell you, and I'm really... maybe I should be embarrassed by this. I don't know. But I looked at this headline, and it's from AOL.com. And I thought to myself, as soon as I thought, what? I'm not being a smart aleck. I thought AOL was gone. I didn't even know it existed. So all I remember about AOL is that obnoxious sound. You've got mail after that. Whatever. I didn't know AOL was still around, but God bless them, they're still around, and this article is from AOL. All right. Goldman Sachs hit by $1 million lawsuit from a former executive who claims a dysfunctional workplace existed where meetings often ended in tears. Ian Dodd left the bank in 2021, and in this lawsuit, he claims that Goldman employees in its London office frequently express distress by high emotions, often tears, after meetings and during meetings. He is the former global head of recruiting at Goldman Sachs International. Now, that I find interesting. I mean, you're talking about this dude's high up the ladder. Global head of recruiting? That's a big title for a company that large. And he's the one suing them. Mentioning the dysfunctional factors that I mentioned earlier and working excessive hours led to his own mental breakdown. Some of the comments that are getting some press would be statements like, take that as your first punch in the face, or other references to staff members receiving a slap or a punch were condoned. So I don't know if it's the statement. It's not very clear. I think it's just using that as a statement, like, oh, that's a real slap. So I don't know. So these things, it's just like, you got to be kidding me. maybe they were actually slapped or punched. If that's the case, Goldman Sachs is going to be writing a really fat check. Can you imagine? I mean, Joe, if I got slapped at the office or punched in the face, they'd be carting me out because I did so much damage or someone just finished the damage to me. There's no going back to my desk going home to Stacy going, I got slapped today. I promise you, somebody's going to have to whoop my butt defending themselves after you slap me? And I'm saying that right now. You know what I probably do? I'd probably go home and get the Louisville Slugger and meet him in the parking lot. I don't know how honorable that is. But, Nathan, I like my odds better. I'm not the guy who's necessarily going to win that fight coming back across the desk. I'm not a big guy. And let me tell you how many fights I've been in my life. 0. Joe, you're surprised by that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, you were a scrappy kid growing up.
Scrappy with my mouth. My mouth got me out of a lot of things. Mouth is a lot bigger than my heart, I'll tell you that, and certainly my body. But
it
anyway,
depends on who we're talking about. There's some people in the office that I would not want to take on.
Right. That's right. So that's why I'm thinking, well, I'll just go get the baseball bat and we'll just settle this at 5:45. You know? I'm not going to let somebody punch me or slap me. Like, if this is real, wow, we got a problem. Now, what does Goldman say? Goldman has denied Dodd's claims and has filed a detailed defense. This is the bank statement. As with many workplaces, there were occasions when colleagues were upset for a variety of reasons, sometimes unconnected with work and sometimes connected with work. But we deny that such instances were frequent or usual. So, good statement. It is important to point out, in fairness to Goldman, if somebody comes to the office and their personal life is falling apart, or just something really sad has happened, that it won't take much to trigger somebody into a tough emotional response and certainly make them emotional. That happens. That doesn't mean that the office is a place of bullying. Well, this is an executive, big-time executive, saying this was a culture of bullying. The bank went on to say in its defense document that any pressure that Dodd felt to always be on was self-generated. If he did work excessive hours, this was not because it was required or expected of him. This is, again, we'll see how this plays out in court. But I actually like this article to bring it up to say, how many of you are working excessive hours because you feel like you're supposed to, but if I called your boss in and we all talked, even you couldn't prove that they're demanding it or even suggesting it? Let's be real. Many times we create realities in our head and we're feeling pressure. And instead of going to your leader going, I'm feeling pressure, I feel overwhelmed, I got too much on my plate right now, you swallow your feelings, deal with the harsh reality, and try to fix it yourself because you're afraid to sit down and talk with your leader about it. And then what happens is, because your leader doesn't notice it, you start blaming them as though they put you in that situation. And in some ways, you can make the case they're allowing this, but if they're not aware of it, then they aren't allowing it. So how many times do people get spun up? And because they aren't willing to take it to their leader and go, I need your help, you need to be aware of this, we just assume that they should be aware of it. And since they should be aware of it, we hold them accountable. And so this is how lawsuits and things like this happen. In 2021, junior Goldman bankers begged to work just 80 hours a week after a leaked survey highlighted how inhumane expectations were, leading to mental health issues among staff. This has made news before, and that's why I bring it back up. Goldman and a lot of these big Wall Street firms, and certainly even in London, these big financial firms, there is a rite of passage. There is certainly an expectation that young workers that are straight out of school, that they're going to have to work crazy hours. And listen, I'm not saying it's right, but this is not something they sneak up on these young workers when they start. These young bankers in New York who are pulling these hours, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm telling you they're not surprised by it. So here's my whole point. If you sign up for a gig and you knowingly sign up for a boiler room type, a furnace type environment, and then 3 months in, 6 months in, you go, it's too hard. That's not a lawsuit. That's you signing your own pink slip going, I can't handle this. I thought I could. And that's my beef with lawsuits. Now, I'm not speaking to this lawsuit. I'm not privy to the details, so I'm not taking a stance on this particular lawsuit. But what I am saying is that many times what workers are complaining about are things that they are not explaining to their leaders. And if the leader doesn't know about it, I promise you the leader can't read your mind. Now, when I say things like this, I love to get out on social media and people go, oh, he's always taking the case of the organization. No, I'm not. I'm on this show all the time going, this is bad bossery and this is pathetic leadership. All the time on this show. But I will tell you that I cover it from all sides. And a lot of times, some of the stress you're dealing with at work is what you've allowed yourself to get into because you won't talk about it. This is the Ken Coleman Show.
Thanks for listening to the Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.